Greetings. Welcome back to another special, fantastic, juicy episode of Death, Taxes, and Sports. My name is Jeff Long. I'm here with two of my esteemed Johnson Wells co-hosts, Mr. Ben Holloway and Mr. Gary Johnson. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this lovely, lovely Tuesday afternoon?
Doing good, doing good. What about
Well,
you, Gary?
it's Tuesday evening on the East Coast, but we're good.
Oh, sorry. We're almost evening. We're almost here, almost evening in Seattle, but or not Seattle. I'm in Phoenix. I'm losing track of where I'm
What
moving
city
to.
are you in
It's all over
today?
the place. I'm in Phoenix. I'm back in Phoenix. I'm here permanently now. So, but anyway, we're gonna have a nice action-packed episode. We're gonna be discussing Week 7 of the NFL season. Definitely intrigued to see what humor you have for us, Barry, because you always bring the good punchliners. The most loyal fan bases, NFL trade proposals for teams and specific players, and as well as NFL power rankings. But before we get to all of that, Gary, before in the pre meeting, we discussed about how great the month of October is because we got Game 7 right now, the Diamondbacks and Phillies. Hopefully, we get a World Series of Phoenix. We got all 32 NHL teams playing. We got the Lakers playing. We got the Phoenix Suns playing. Bradley Beal is hurt. Shocker. And just so much. So much, guys.
No, this is my favorite time of year when all four major sports converge and you have like a Sunday or a weekend of just football or basketball or baseball or hockey. Like you can't beat that. And it's the only time of year where really like you have that kind of impact because baseball during the when you get to like June or whatever when basketball and hockey are wrapping up, it's not the same. So like yes, October is like this time of year. If you're a sports fan, this is like your dream season.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. I can just only imagine, Ben, just some of the things we're going to be discussing here with some of these teams. Um, I mean, let's first just get right to it for week 1, shall we? Ben, I mean, there's so many different things that we could be discussing here, and there's so many different takeaways. And when I was really thinking about it, and the first one I really want to throw out is about the Dolphins. And for me, that I'm thinking about it is how much has the Dolphins' schedule had to do with their success, right? Because we know how great offensively they are. We know how legit that they are. We know as long as Mr. Concussion is on the field, they're going to have a chance. And you look at their wins against the Chargers, Patriots, my Broncos, unfortunately, Giants, and Panthers, right? And then their two losses are by double digits or more against Buffalo and Philly. We want to crown them guys, but Ben, I'm going to toss it to you, man. Like, what do you think?
So their loss against Philly, yes, it was final score 14. Fourth quarter for the majority of it was 24-17. And also, for a decent amount of the second half, it was 17-17. Eagles, give them credit, go for the kill drive, long past A.J. Brown, leads to a touchdown. There's your 14-point game. Couple of things from that game. One, we know, everybody knows, who knows anything about football, there could be penalties called on both teams on every single play. And I'm not sitting here taking any credit from the Eagles because I'm a Cowboys fan. Nothing. You can make that joke if you want, but that's not the reality. The reality is they get called for 0 penalties. The Eagles, 0 penalties. I'm not saying they would have won or they would have lost if they had 5 or 6 penalties, but what's facts is facts. They had 0 penalties called against them. And I mean, ultimately, all teams deal with injuries to different varying degrees, but the Miami had 3 backup offensive linemen for the majority of that game, and their 2 top corners, although Jalen Ramsey hasn't played yet, but hopefully soon for them. But him and Howard, their 2 top corners, were out. So injuries are playing a little bit of a role with Miami, along with, I would say, so I walked away. The Miami Buffalo game was more like, what the heck is going on? They were competitive for the majority. For the majority of the Eagles Dolphins game, it was competitive, and it was 17-17 in the third quarter, possibly into the fourth. So this one, I can't really sound the alarms because it's not nearly as bad as that beatdown Buffalo put on them.
Yeah, and Gary, like I don't say, and I think you make all good points. And Gary, like I'm not like concerned about the Dolphins, right? Like let me be clear, like I'm not like concerned about them. I'm concerned when he gets concussed. I'm just saying, you look at the final product. You look at 5 games against pretty bad competition. The 2 games against pretty decent competition, they still lose by double digit. I mean, at the end of the day, like a double digit loss is still done. But all points, all fair. But get your thoughts, and we'll throw it to you, Ben, for a takeaway.
You know, we've had this conversation. We had it last season, and this might be a homer thing to say, but we had this exact same conversation about my Giants a year ago, where their success was the byproduct of an easy schedule. When you are in third and fourth place in your division the year before, you're going to have an easier schedule. And what we're seeing is Miami's beating up the bad teams. And then when faced with competition that is as good or better, they're getting their shit handed to them. And like this is that reality. Jeff, you make a very valid point about Tua and his health and worrying about the whole concussion issue. So far, there hasn't been any red flags towards that, which I know with the concussion, it's kind of hard to say that there's a red flag towards it, but there is. Tua's proven to be healthy thus far, or at least he's maintained being upright, and as a result, they're 5-2. Which, let's be honest, I feel like that's kind of where they should be. I didn't think they'd be, undefeated or anything like that, but they are definitely they're where they should be, considering their schedule, considering the fact that the difference between them and last year's Giants team is clearly the talent. We won games last year because things fell in our favor. The Dolphins are beating up the teams that they're supposed to beat, but now the biggest thing for them is they have to beat these. They have to get at least a couple of these wins against these teams that they shouldn't be, or these teams that are on paper better than them.
Yep. And Ben, what it just really comes down to it, they are averaging about over 30 points a game in their 5 wins. Their 2 losses, averaged about 18. I'm just saying, but we'll see. But Ben, what's your takeaway?
Yeah, so one takeaway that I wrote down for week 7 is I mean, you could say any week, but I wrote expect the unexpected. And I got 3 games that fit that perfectly. 1, Patriots. They almost scored 30 points. I mean, 29 is basically 30. The previous 4 games, we talked about it last week, they scored 35 points in total. They almost put 35 on Buffalo. So that was one unexpected, obviously. Ravens, Lions, obviously we expected that to be a much closer game than it was. So that was unexpected. And then, of course, we got the 49ers losing last night to the Vikings. So those 3, it's like, you could say it every week, but expect the unexpected. And those 3 are my examples.
Gary, your thoughts?
No, to really kind of just back up what Ben was saying, this was the weekend of the underdogs. And like sometimes in an NFL season, in an 18-week season, this is going to happen. Some of these games that you think one way, where we all zig, they're going to zag, and that's what we saw this weekend. The Giants, listen, you can 14-7, 14-7, whatever, like we won, but like there was nothing good about that win other than the fact that it was a win. You talk about, but Ben just said about the Patriots and the Bills. I think my biggest takeaway from this weekend is, who the hell are the Buffalo Bills? What are they? Are like
4 and 3.
But like,
I mean,
they are a couple of plays away from being 6-1.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly where you're going. I was just saying,
like,
who are they right now? They're 4 and 3.
And we talked about this ad nauseum over the last 100 some odd episodes with this Buffalo team. If not now, when? And right now, it's not looking like it's going to happen for them. And it's
and Gary, like really over the last 100 episodes, 108, like that we've discussed about the Bills is like, for me, At the end of the day, like whenever we talk about any team, we talk about, okay, this player played well, or, they could have closed this. But like to me, at the end of the day, just like we talk about Russell Wilson, wins and losses. Like we can sit and talk about how, Josh Allen throws for 350 yards, but this is about wins or losses. And so for me, I think that we're at this point, especially for the Bills, where they've had this window open for the last 3 or 4 seasons. What we are seeing is that they are just, when they're high, they're really high, but when they're low, they're really low. They could
Real.
still make it to a Super Bowl, but it just depends on the team that shows up. We just don't know. Are they going to play down their competition? Ben.
So I was just curious, and I just Googled this stat, and Josh Allen has played 84 games, and he's turned it over 89 times. He's the modern day Brett Favre, just
that's
more
literally
athletic.
what I was just getting ready to say.
Yeah, exactly.
We've talked about this. Like, he is this generation's Brett Favre. You're gonna live and you're gonna die by him and his arm and his decision making, and you'll pray for that one championship the way the Green Bay prayed for it. So
that's crazy though.
Yeah.
89 turnovers in 84 games. That's nuts.
But hold on. Someone, and there was a photo that sent you. There was a photo of Josh Allen where it says, "When you lose to Zach Wilson and Mac Jones, but we called elite because your overtime loss to Mahomes was exciting."
That's it.
I think that sums it up. It's hard for me to consider him elite because in the key moments he hurts his team. Elite to me is about the moments.
If you're averaging over 1 turnover per game, you're disqualified from being
That's not elite.
No,
that's not elite. He's a
over
very good
1 turnover a game, like elite skill level, yes, but actually elite results matter.
He's good.
That's what I'm saying.
He's good, but that's about it. There's really, you tell me what the difference between him and Dak Prescott is in real life.
Nothing.
What's the difference?
In real life, literally nothing. Talent-wise, Allen's more talented, but performance, the games, it's the same.
But I'm saying, like, even with Allen's more talented, but like, by how much? That margin is non-existent.
And he offset. Sorry, Gary, but I was gonna say he offsets the being more talented by being more risky and turning it over more.
Valid, yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
but Gary, go ahead, Gary.
No, I'm saying I just have one more take. There's no reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-2. I just want to say that out loud in front of everybody. Mike Tomlin, I'm going to say this. He might be one of the 5 best of all time when this is all said and done. I really, and that's with the 1 championship, but like, he's coaching up a team of who's and what the hell, and he plays there now. He's coaching up that team. And who knows? This may still end up being a 5 or 6 win season for them. Who knows? But right now, if you'd have told me when the season started that the Pittsburgh Steelers would be 4-2, I'd have laughed at you, without question.
So I'm going to throw one more, and then Ben, I know you got one more because I think this topic is fun. I think for me is what have we learned in the first 7 games about QB Jalen Hurts? Okay, again, he helped the team to 6-1. Okay, great, that's what matters. But we also have to look at long term, right? Because he's turned the ball over at a high clip. He has 10 turnovers. He had a pick 6 that tied the game. He had a pair of giveaways, and he has 10 turnovers, second only to Desmond Ridder. Do you really want to be in the same conversation as Desmond Ridder? Do you really want to be in that same conversation through the first 10 games? I think not. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Like these, they came out and they played very.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. Go ahead. No,
I was just saying, like, he's playing very average and they're still winning, and there's still time for them to turn it around. But boy, is it scary what they could. There's either one of 2 things. Either he's going to cost them, which he hasn't yet because they won the game, or B, he's going to turn it on and then also decide to give Devontae Smith a little bit more burn because he's kind of been absent. I'm just saying. Ben, Gary, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say that not as we talked about, not all interceptions are created equal, but exactly. that Jets game that they lost where he had 3 interceptions, the first 2, nothing he could have done. The third one, hugely important, all on him, and that's arguably why they lost. So,
Hey, but it is what it is. But Ben, one more for you, and then let's get it going to the most loyal fan bases. I'm really excited to get to that one.
I would just kind of piggyback off what Gary said. Like, there's only like three teams that have scored less points than the Steelers,
Right?
and they're 4-2.
It makes no sense.
I mean, is that a cataclysm for what this year is? I mean, I think these losses though, they're more telling than I think them just being games. Like the Lions losing, I think was a little bit more telling than just, oh, they just got obliterated. Like no, there are some issues there that if they don't get that fixed, they could go from being a contender to just cratering. I mean, this team started out really bad last year and caught, you know, right now could this be they start off really strong and then just kind of
and then
fizzle
and
off,
then,
right? This
then
could be the
fade
week,
like the opposite. Yeah.
right?
Yep. Mhm.
Right? I mean, you look at the Vikings. They're 2-0 without Justin Jefferson. They still got weapons outside of Justin Jefferson. I'm just saying, this year is just a very odd year, Gary.
No, you hit the nail on the head that the teams that are losing their key talent for periods of time are still figuring it out. And yeah, like for Minnesota, for everything that's going on there, like they could have easily waved the white flag on this season, but they're not. And there was the talk about, oh, should we trade away Kirk Cousins instead in the third, and he doesn't want to go. It's like he's showing you why he doesn't need to go. He's keeping them competitive, especially in that division. But I look at, and Ben, you talked about Detroit. I think what Dan Campbell said was perfect. That was an ass whooping that they needed because
Mhm.
they had to temper expectations. They're not
They were feeling themselves too much.
right, and but they're good. Detroit is good, and it like we've talked about before the season started. Like we all see them winning the division, and I think that they will. But they could easily just be like a Minnesota from last year, where they're a division winner because somebody had to win that division, but they're not really that good of a team.
Yep.
And
I
this
see
is
where
what
you're
we're
getting.
gonna, we're about to find out. This next gambit of
Yeah.
games is going to let us all know exactly if Detroit is for real or if this is just, if they're a team that will fare well, and they have the opportunity to fare well because I see more teams with a losing record making the playoffs in the NFC than the AFC. So there's opportunity there. They just have to seize it.
Thanks. Let's keep this thing rolling here. Ben, I'm throwing a little bit of curveball. Let's start with you with top three most loyal fan bases, but then little caveat: what city deserves an NBA expansion team?
Seattle.
Okay, there we go. That was the question.
There's
All right,
there's
fair.
there's no debate. Seattle absolutely deserves it.
If you got if they were going to give us 4 more teams in the NBA, you do 2 in the East, 2 in the West. Your 2 in the West, Seattle and Las Vegas. Your 2 in the East, I'm going to say Pittsburgh and St. Louis. I feel like those 2 cities are kind of like they're overdue, especially St. Louis. The fact that, they have, it's just the Blues and the Cardinals. Like there is no, like, the Rams are gone. They've never really had, their last basketball team was the Spirits of St. Louis in the ABA. So, like, I feel like that's a fan
cool
base that, that could really carry an NBA team. They have their NBA arena ready, all that. So, yeah, Seattle, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, St. Louis. I think those are the 4 cities that need to have a franchise next.
Love to feast. Love it. Love it. Love it. Ben, and then Gary, your top 3 most loyal fan bases. Let's see what you guys have. I'm pretty sure I probably have a combination of y'all's 3. Go ahead, Ben.
I got to be honest. The first 2 for me were very easy. For me, the Lions and the Browns. They just, it doesn't matter what their record is. They sell out. They sell out. They sell out. And number 3 for me was like it was really hard, and I ended up going with the St. Louis Cardinals because that is an extremely passionate fan base. So those are my 3.
Okay. All right. I love it. Love it. Gary?
No particular order. I went with the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base because them people travel like a mother. Like they travel well, always.
Every stadium is a home stadium.
Pretty much. I'm going to go off into the college ranks and say Notre Dame. I think that fan base is still very rabid. Good season or bad, they're always going to talk up their team and talk about the glory days. And then, Ben, how you didn't say your Dallas Cowboys, I don't understand, because not only are they passionate, they're also delusional. So it's it's a lovely combination of the two of them, two of those things. But listen, I'll give the devil their due. The Dallas Cowboys, they're another team that they have fans everywhere. It makes no sense. I got family members that are Cowboys fans, and it makes no sense to me because we're all from New York. What are you doing? But it's the truth.
Okay.
It's facts.
All right, Jeff, what you got? What's your 3?
You know what? I'm gonna go cities. Is it okay? Can I go cities?
Why
Go
not?
for it.
Yeah, why not? Mix it
Can I
up.
do
Go
cities?
for it. Go for
I'm
it.
gonna go cities because I wanted to add a little spin to this because that's what kind of gives me inspiration when I think about this. Number one, Chicago. Chicago is the number one loyal fan base
them
in all sports.
those Blackhawks and Cubs fans. Whew, yeah.
Right, I'm telling you, like going to a White Sox Cubs game at Wrigley Field on a Friday afternoon and a hot August afternoon is the place to be. Wrigley Field, definitely recommend it. Number two, I'm gonna go Philly, man. Philly, they are brutal. They are a-holes sometimes, but man, is that fan base loyal. And then three, I'm gonna go New York City. You got to have New York up there. The Knicks. I'm saying it. I'm saying it. I'm saying it. I'm going New York.
I hear you.
I'm going New York.
Yes, we talk about people being Knicks fans and Yankees fans and going to Yankee Stadium being a cultural experience, all that stuff. Like, you're absolutely right. I want to give an honorable mention to the city of Green Bay because when your football team is owned by the city, that speaks to a specific, like, your fan level is different. You actually have personal stake in your franchise. So I'm going to throw an honorable mention to Green Bay. I'm going to throw an honorable mention to Boston because we've all been around. We've been around those sports fans, and they're very passionate, very loyal. They love their Red Sox and Patriots and Celtics and Bruins. Like, this is so they're up there as well.
I'll tell you what though, like my freshman year, Johnson was 2007. Boston was booming, man. With Josh Beckett and that White Sox team, you had Matt Ryan at Boston College killing it. You had the Bruins doing their thing. You had
what happened in 2007, Jeff?
Woo! What happened?
Jeff?
Those undefeated Patriots lost to the New York Giants. Oh, that was that one was
that
something.
Was a fun night.
That was something.
I've never seen the whole city go silent before. It was different.
Oh man. We were in Professor Moore's class. I remember that next day.
Jeff, I was talking all the shit. I was talking all
good times, man. Good times. But yeah, of course, gotta have Boston as a mention. I'm sorry?
I said Plaxico Burress jersey on. Like,
hey, love to see it. I love it. Oh man. So let's go to these to this next one, Ben.
Yeah, these teams.
Panthers, Bears, Giants, and Patriots. These ideal trades. And Gary, I'll toss it to you first on this one. And because you're Giants, out of respect. And I'm gonna throw one trade out there that I thought was interesting. It's not the most sexy of picks, but I said the Giants should receive edge rusher Daniel Hunter, and the Vikings receive a 2024 third round pick. I think pairing Hunter with Thibodeau is a pretty low risk financially because he's only going to add $5.5 million to the salary cap. But I think adding him to that defensive line to get more pressure, I think is desperately needed.
You're right. There's two ways to look at it with the Giants. If they believe that this is just this season is a one-off to what was otherwise a good season last year in a building block year, and this is just the growing pains of it, then yes, you make the trade for a Hunter. You make a trade. You help bolster that offensive line because, as we've seen, and you saw it yesterday, I saw it on Sunday, rather, you give your quarterback some time, he can make some throws. We had a passing touchdown. Like, now, admittedly, that's not something to brag about this late into a professional football season, that we had a passing touchdown in the first half of a football game. But guess what? We did, and it happened, and that's because we had a decent offensive line. or we had an offensive line that proceeded to have a clue in what they were doing and what their assignment was. So yes, 100 would be good. If we're waving the white flag, I think you get as many draft picks back for Saquon Barkley as you possibly can. I think the franchise that can do that right now is the Baltimore Ravens. I think if we're going to wave the white flag and trade him, even though he doesn't want to go, I think Baltimore might be the best place for him to be on a contender, and then we at least get some of these draft picks back, and we can continue this rebuild.
Gary, did you say Saquon to the Ravens?
Yes, I did.
I like the fit, but here's the problem. The Ravens, they destroy every running back. Every running back gets hurt.
Ben, I didn't like saying it. I didn't like saying this, and I didn't want to say it for Baltimore. But if Baltimore is going to be relevant in the AFC and in that picture for the playoffs, and somebody that can challenge Kansas City, challenge Buffalo for whatever they are, challenge Miami, you're going to have a decent running game. And if you can at least bolster that running game, whatever is left of it, with a decent running back, and you don't have to run Lamar every 3 or 4 plays, why not?
I mean, the fit makes sense. It does make sense. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I'll take it. Gary, what's your was that your trade, or we tossed it to you, Ben? Or did you have a?
Well, Gary,
I mean, really, I can quickly talk about the others. Panthers, lost cause, 1 win this season. I don't know what trade you would do in that case. Patriots, you need to get somebody. Need to get another quarterback in there for Mac Jones. Brian Hoyer's not the answer, and he shouldn't be. And the Bears, who cares?
Okay.
Who cares?
Okay. All right. Sorry. I'll let Ben go, but I got one for the Bears you won't even least expect. But go ahead, Ben.
All right, so I'll go the 4 teams. I'll go quick. So I'll go Panthers. I came up with Miles Sanders to the Chiefs for a 6th-round pick. Like a low risk pair.
I like that one.
Pair him with Pacheco, and you can probably get him for the 6th or the 7th because he's hurt right now, and the contract and his age. So Chiefs, it's a low risk move. They've shown penchant for that. Bears, I was like, you know what? I think that the Browns, I mean, they're not Super Bowl contenders, but they are pretty darn good. But they could probably use an upgrade at receiver. So I got Darnell Mooney to the Browns for a 4th-round pick. He's still on a rookie contract, I believe. They might have to pay him afterwards, but Mooney seems to have kind of faded from the Bears kind of picture. His stats, his production is all going down, and maybe they don't want to pay him, so they might be able to get something for him. So the Browns, I think, if you have Mooney, you have Amari, and you have Elijah Moore, like you got some decent weapons there. So, and then for the Giants, I got Adoree Jackson traded to the Lions. I put Adoree and a 6th-round pick, and the Giants would get a 5th and a 7th.
Okay.
Because the Lions got a lot of injuries in the secondary, and despite that horrible loss, it's just one game. You would love to lose by 3 points maybe, but you still lose. It's W's and L's here. A loss is a loss.
Yeah. But let's also admit, but just real quick, the Ravens receiving core, like Odell is not Odell. Okay, like he's still living off that hype with that. Like he's not an elite receiver anymore. Forget that. And this receiving core by the Ravens is not really stoking a lot of fear. So to still get up 38 points, or rather underwhelming receiving core.
I'm not gonna say it wasn't a surprise. I mean, it definitely was a surprise. A little bit of a disappointment for sure. We expected a much closer game. That was pretty much the week, and we got a dud pretty much. So,
gotcha.
I'll go quick with the Patriots. I don't know, for whatever reason, I think that the Chiefs, maybe it's just me, but I think the Chiefs could stand to upgrade at running back, and the Patriots have another veteran that, what are they really doing with him? So I got Zeke Elliott to the Chiefs for a 6th-round pick. I don't know. I think the Chiefs, if the Chiefs were to get a veteran running back, I think that would really, round them. I mean, I don't know. Those are my 4 teams, my 4 trades. What do you got,
Okay.
Jeff?
All right. So for Patriots, I already said for the Giants, but I think for the Patriots, I think the Patriots should try to trade for T. Higgins. And I say they received they received T. Higgins, and the Bengals received a 2024 first round pick, fifth rounder for 2024, and a 2025 third round pick. And I only say this because you look at the cap situation. Joe Burrow just got paid. Chase is going to get paid. They're not going to be able to keep all 3 of those guys. And T. Higgins, albeit his numbers is precipitously down, very concerning. Come on, bro. My fantasy team, he's
Part of that's injuries, though. Part of it. Well, he only missed 1 game, but Jeff, I like that proposal, but I got a little counter to that. Let's say, I think if you're the Patriots, you could do that trade, but if you throw in Bourne to Bengals, you might be able to not give up as much draft pick. And then you got maybe like a team that doesn't want a receiver because of whatever reason, and then a team doesn't want a receiver, so then you just swap them.
Yeah, no, I like that one. I think T. Higgins to the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots desperately need that over top receiver. Bears, I think the Bears should trade for Chase Young, and then the Commanders receive edge in Travis Gibson, and as well as a wide receiver, Velus Jones Jr., and a 2024 third or fourth rounder. And then I think for the Panthers, I could go either way with this, but I think for them, when you look at the receiving core outside of Thielen, I say they should try to go for a trade for KJ Hamler for the Broncos because he's only played 10 games, only has 620 yards receiving. It clearly hasn't worked out. The man has sub 4.40 speed. I still think there's enough for him to be able to provide the offense. And with Bryce Young, with the deep ball that he has, I think that would be a very good addition, and for the Broncos to get some type of draft capital.
Yeah, I heard that the Panthers are definitely in the mix for Judy as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. I totally do it. Totally do it. But let's kind of keep this thing going here. Going to put our GM hats on here. Hopefully, Marissa will. If she can't, I have a backup option for Mr. Daniel Hunter. So we are going to come up with 3 different realistic trades. Jerry Jeudy, who I think is probably going to get traded more than likely, which at this point, like, I'm okay with that. Then we got James Conner, Daniel Hunter, and as well as Zach Ertz. I'm just going to say this: Jerry Jeudy gets traded to the Panthers. I think that's going to happen. I think that is more likely going to happen versus not. He's still young, and I think for him, and then try to get maybe like 2 seconds and like a third, but I think they can get at least 2 draft picks for that. That's just what I'm going to recommend for Jerry Jeudy. But James Conner, Ben, and then go to Zach Ertz for you, Gary.
Well, go ahead and Jeff, give your other 2. If you other 2 for Jeudy. If you have 3 ready.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say this. 3 teams where I think he can ideally go. I'm going to say either the Panthers at number 1, number 2. This might sound weird, but I'm going to say the Rams. I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they trade the Rams. Maybe they swap him and like Tony Dell, but I like that receiving core with Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and as well as like right, and then like Jerry Jeudy's like that change of pace. I really like that one. And then I'm gonna also go. Might sound weird, but I'm gonna go Dallas. I can see Dallas maybe trying to make a play for Jerry Jeudy, depending on what they need to give up. Because yeah, I just like that one. I don't know, just sounds good. Not a particular reason. Yeah, that's all. Ben, go ahead and Gary.
I wouldn't hate that. I think Dallas has maybe other needs, but that's not bad. Yeah. I mean, that's not bad. For James Conner, I came up with 3 teams similar to you, and I was just kind of guesstimating his value. If you're just doing a player for a pick, I valued Conner based upon his injury and not a guarantee he comes back immediately from IR. I'd say a 6th round pick is probably about fair. So both my 3 trades are all for a 6th. I've made it pretty simple. James Conner to Dallas for a 6th round pick, Conner to the Ravens, same for a 6th, and then Conner to the Bills. Because I feel that, all of those teams could stand to upgrade at running back, and all of them I would say are pretty legitimate contenders. So I kind of just looked at the contending teams that could use a running back, and those are the 3 I settled on.
Okay. There you go. Like it. I like it. I like all three of them. Gary.
All right, so for Zach Ertz, the three teams, I'll lead with Dallas. I think they need a veteran presence in that tight ends room. Now that Dalton Schultz is going off to Houston. I know they have the kid Schoonmaker, I forgot how to pronounce his last name, but the rookie that they just drafted.
Schoonmaker.
It is Schoonmaker. And I know that they like Jake Ferguson, but again, I think the veteran presence in that locker room would be needed. So if you trade him and you give up a 4th round pick for him or 5th round, something down the line that you're not going to think too much about, I think that's a good place for him. I think Cincinnati, think he would fit well within that offense as well as being
And Burrow loves it. Burrow loves his tight ends too.
Yeah,
certain quarterbacks use their tight ends more. Burrow's one of them.
He is. So to have a name there, to have somebody, a big name, and somebody that can provide as much of a distraction or an option rather on the offensive side of the ball, catching, receiving versus blocking. Like it's, when you have that two-headed monster, that's something, like you said, for Joe Burrow, he absolutely needs, and he definitely could use the weapons. And then the other team would be Tampa Bay. But again, that would be contingent upon Tampa Bay being like us knowing that Baker Mayfield, like this is going to be him and he's going to be like average to above average. If this is just going to be like I said, a one-off or just a kind of a
man, that NFC South division is impossible to
right.
It's impossible to predict still.
No, Baker Mayfield is your best quarterback in that division, and that speaks volumes.
Which is funny because it's just like Bryce Young should be the best one, being the number 1 overall pick. I'm not saying like he's a bust, but I just have some real big durability concerns for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, do you think that the Panthers regret drafting him over CJ Stroud at this point?
Probably.
I think so.
I think, for his size was going to be a problem there. It's like, oh, well, Drew Brees wasn't the biggest person. Drew Brees also had an arm. I don't know if this kid has an arm like that. So.
Yeah, we'll see. Ben, tell your dog I said hi. Yeah.
But by the way, I may have changed the players if I knew this, but Ertz went to IR today. So that
that kind of just throws away my entire argument. Forget what I said.
Well, the same thing for James Conner though. But James Conner,
out, right?
Yeah, but he already missed like 2 games. 1 or 2.
Yeah, but James Conner's also in the IR too, I believe.
But still, I mean, no, he definitely is. But I'm saying he just went to IR. Connor has already missed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Gary, I wouldn't disregard what you said because those teams could still all use a tight end. And what if they can now get him for a 7th round pick? What the heck is a 7th round pick?
Right.
I mean, you can wait. If those teams are serious about contending, December and January, frankly, what the heck do you need them for in November? You'd much rather have. So if you could get him for, I know he's injured, but like, damn, that hurts your value. So you could get Ertz for probably a 7th round pick. That's worth the risk.
True. It's all going to be it's all very interesting developments to follow. But Ben, Gary, I'll toss with you first, Gary. This Dolphins or Lions, both of them, I could kind of go.
Well, Jeff, sorry, you said you had one for Daniel Hunter. What'd you get? You had one. You had a proposal for Hunter, the Vikings guy.
I trade him for a 1st and 2 seconds. I don't try to go players. I try to get draft picks. If I'm a losing team, if I need draft picks, I try to draft picks. That's really it. Nothing over the top. I don't think necessarily player swaps are always the best. Sometimes you just need draft capital. You never know.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
he could definitely help a lot of teams, though. He could help a lot of teams.
Oh, he's one of the more underrated players in the league, and he's not one of those sexy names a lot of people think about, which is always interesting. Don't sleep on guys like that. But Ben, man, this Dolphins or Lions? That's what I was hoping. Tiffany was going to be able to join us on this one. Oh, Gary, you're back. I could go either or with this because, like, for me, the team that I have the most confidence in, I'm really conflicted, but I genuinely think you can make a good case for both. But I'm gonna say that I have more confidence in Miami because we know what they can do offensively, and we
Mhm.
know based on last year when Tua was out, they had a losing record, and if Tua had played, they probably could have beat the Bills. So I think there's more of a sample size because we've seen them make the playoffs last year. The Lions, I don't know how this team is going to bounce back in the next game. Like this next game is probably so far the biggest game of the year, regardless of the opponent, because the narratives were starting to change about the Lions. But then once when we crown them and we have them in the top 5 in rankings, they just get their ass whooped. Like it's one thing to lose 17-14.
Cue Dennis Green.
They are
Right,
who they
like,
thought they were.
They are who we thought they were. You want to crown
You know what
them?
I'm
Go
saying?
ahead
Like
and
this,
crown their asses.
we were ready to crown him. We were ready to crown. Listen, we were ready to crown a lot of teams like 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden there's like all this cluster. So I'm really interested to see the rankings. But Gary, I'm gonna say Miami. I see that their upcoming schedule is going to be a little bit interesting, but they're gonna have to beat one of the contenders. They're gonna have to, or otherwise they're just going to be that team.
That
But Gary, good.
Miami Chiefs game is, I know it's in Germany, but frankly, I don't care what it is. If they lose that game, you went against 3 true contenders and you lost to all 3. I got no faith in you making any noise in January. I think that is as close to a must win as a November game can be for Miami.
No, easily, without a doubt. Gary.
So at first, when I read the question, my answer was kind of I really don't have faith in either one. Um, there's a part of me that looks at the totality, and I think that's my part of my problem is I'm looking at the totality of the Detroit Lions like franchise history, excluding this past season, and timing is perfect because now I'm talking about her Lions. Oh damn, now she's going. Okay, well, either way, yes, I personally think gun to head, Miami's probably more. I have more confidence in Miami because of the weapons, because they beat the team that they're supposed to. Now, what that will look like for the rest of the schedule this season, I don't know. I think we had them on the trajectory. Listen, their ceiling based off of how everything started the season was about 12, 13 wins. I think that kind of falls off to like the 9, 10, 11 range with another loss, but I still think that'll be enough to either win the division or at least at the absolute worst be the top wild card team. So whereas with Detroit, we've talked about the NFC not being good. They can easily not make, as much as we say, they can easily not make the playoffs following a 5-2 start. They could, but at the same time, the NFC is so weak that they could end up 7-10 and still be in the mix. So answering the question,
Look,
I'm going to say Miami because I feel like Miami is far likelier to end up in the Super Bowl than Detroit would.
and Ben, before I tell you, here's what I'm going to say. Like, do not let the records of teams deter you from picking them to make a deep run. Because I think that what this week has shown you is that a lot of these good teams are not great. Like Kansas City is still Kansas City because of Mahomes, but that team is still not overwhelmingly superior. The Dolphins, we've seen what they can do. Those 2 losses. Philly had some close games. You look at the Lions, like you look at every single team that we had in the top 5 of the rankings last week, and some that we have this week, all look vulnerable. You got the Steelers at 4-2. Like a team could win 10 games and make it to this. You could have a 9 or 10 win team make it to the Super Bowl. Like it's going to be that type of year. Catching hot lightning in the bottle. It's going to be very interesting to see. But Ben, your thoughts? Lions or Dolphins?
Yeah. So Jones and Daniel Hunter. Whew, that would be something to, and they already are one of the top 3 defenses right now. You get Hunter and Chris Jones and that guy from Purdue last year, George, I can't say his last name. That just came to my mind. back on Lions or Dolphins, more confident in moving forwards. I would say that it's kind of like, man, like you could make a very strong case for either one. I think, Jeff, as you pointed out, I would say that I lean slightly more towards the Lions, and I think it's because number one, they are exactly they know who they are. They have an actual identity, and they stick to that identity week after week. They know exactly who they are. They play a certain style, and I just feel like the consistency of we know who we are, we have a game plan, and we're going to stick true to our identity. I think that matters. I think that they know kind of their way. And their way, if we're being completely honest, is let's muck it up. We're going to be very, very physical. We're going to run the ball, and we're not going to apologize for anything. And we're going to hit you in the mouth. They are like, they have that toughness. They have that like identity. Whereas Miami, it almost feels like they're kind of like the Ravens when I think the year he won MVP, I think they were like 13-3, but they were like front runners. So if they're ahead, you can't beat them. They're like unbeatable. And the same with Carolina way back in the day when they went 15-1, which I don't care. I know we still lost, but taking that team to the Super Bowl with Ted Ginn as your number one wide receiver, Cam Newton deserves a lot of credit for that. But Carolina was similar. That team, if they were ahead, you weren't going to beat them. And I feel like the Ravens with Lamar a couple of years ago, I think when they, like I said, I think maybe 13-3. And now I feel like with the Dolphins, like if they're ahead, you ain't going to beat them. But if they need a fourth quarter comeback, can they do it? Can you rely on them to do it? I don't know. So I think I have a tiny bit more faith in the Lions.
Okay. And the Lions have shown you an ability to be. I think that game against Tampa Bay, for instance, was probably their more impressive win because they didn't light up the scoreboard, but man, their defense was good. Still, when you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, like those two aren't scrubs, and they're still well in their prime. And Mike Evans is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean,
that game was in Tampa, and Tampa after their bye, and Tampa scored. Tampa scored right? 6 points. 6 points.
Exactly. I have faith. I really think Dan Campbell really has something special with that team, and I think they're going to bounce back. Tigney couldn't join us, but hopefully she'll be able to get on soon. Let's get to these rankings here, and I think we'll have time for a gripe from Gary, or maybe we'll do Jeff's gripes. Hell, who knows? I'm just going to go straight down 1 through 5, or I'm going to go through 5 through 1 as far as my rankings. I've got the Ravens.
NFL power rankings?
NFL power rankings. Yes, I'm sorry. Ravens number 5, the way that they came out, I'm not confident in them staying there next week. They're kind of like the Bills. You just don't know what team's going to show up. The receiving core is a little bit shaky. They really need to get another running back and another receiver that can take the top over because without that offense is just very – I don't trust Lamar Jackson to have that type of efficiency passing week in and week out because he has yet to be able to prove it. Hopefully Tigney, she's here. She is here. Stop the presses.
Oh, rainstorms and technology, gentlemen. My apologies. Good evening, everyone.
No, it's all good. Good evening. Glad that you were able to join. We're going to take a backtrack here, and we are going to throw the question, Dolphins or Lions, who you have more confidence in, but just real quick, how are you feeling after last week? We'll just give you just 60 seconds. Feel free to say how you feel. We're here to support.
It was disappointing, but hopefully it was a lesson for the guys to wake up because they were going against a really tough team that the media had said that their concerns was Baltimore's running game, Lamar Jackson's passing accuracy, coming from London and then going back to Baltimore. Despite the injuries that the Detroit Lions had, it was so disappointing to see the defense play like the defense of old when the Lions couldn't get it together for many, 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 many years, and just not even anything. And I know like Detroit Lions fans were hooting and hollering on social media about, some of the plays or some of the penalties that should have been called on Baltimore, holding Aiden Hutchinson on, a couple of plays and all that stuff. We can't blame the referees for the whole entire game. This team just got outplayed. They got outcoached. It's the bottom line. Looking at their next 3 games, they have Monday night against the Raiders, and they have a bye. And then after that bye, hopefully they're recharged and refreshed because they go to Los Angeles and play the Chargers. So I got more confidence in them to turn things around. The Dolphins, you look at their schedule, and they play the Patriots next, and then at the Chiefs, and then they have a bye. So
that game's in Germany, for the record.
Yeah, you're correct. It is in Germany. I just think that this was a wake up call for the Detroit Lions. I know Dan Campbell, pretty much lit a fire under all of them, and they all take ownership of it. I expect change and turnaround on Monday night. I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo's there, but who knows what Brian Hoyer can do for the Raiders.
I'm gonna call it right now. Y'all are winning that game by more than 14.
Oh, absolutely.
You can book that.
Absolutely. I just want to make sure that we play the game and not go in there and play cute. And it needs to start now because I saw.
Campbell ain't good. Campbell. Nah, you guys are.
He won't.
I'm telling you, y'all are gonna I have a strong feeling y'all gonna whoop that ass like bad.
Oh, and I expect it to be so. I definitely expect it to be so. And it just the accountability. They all took accountability of it and what they did not do. The only person that literally showed up to work was in the fourth quarter, and that was Jahmyr Gibbs. Got us 6 points.
He had a great game.
Was it.
Great game.
He had a phenomenal game. And whoever has him on fantasy, I mean, he's got at least about 23 and a half-ish points, 22, 23 points. So, but that was the only one. Everybody else forgot that there was a game.
Hey,
but I'm good.
I'm going to come back.
Yeah, I'm good. Jeff, you and I, text each other, and you asked me the same question. And, I'm not worried about that. I mean, it's just one game. And I see the potential. I've been seeing the potential because, again, we're sitting at 5-2, and you got a Vikings team that, figured it out the other night against the 49ers, which was, surprising to me how well they played without Justin Jefferson. Shout
out to Jordan Addison. Oof.
Yeah, he's a rookie, correct? A rookie?
Yeah. From USC.
And he literally looked like that he's been in the league for about 4 or 5 years. The way he played that game.
Just real quick. Now we forget about Jordan Addison. He won best wide receiver when he was at Pittsburgh. Okay, at Pitt.
That's right.
He had Kenny Pickett as his quarterback.
That's right.
The best wide receiver. Then he transfers over and goes to USC. So that's why I have a lot of shares in him. I'm not surprised.
That long touchdown to end the first half. That's got to be one of the top 5 plays of the whole season.
Yeah.
Easily. But let's get to this here, the power rankings, and then we'll toss it to you, Tiffany, and then we'll just kind of do a run robin here. I was going to say Ravens again. I'm just not, we'll see. Actually, if it wasn't for the win, I would still have the Lions ahead of the Ravens. I'm more confident in the Lions long term than the Ravens, but because of wins and losses, Miami, Mr. Concussion, hasn't gotten concussed yet. Knock on wood. He's still going strong. San Francisco, number 3, but Purdy, man, he was like that shiny little toy. Mm-hmm. And versus just real quick question to you, like, is the wear kind of like rotting off on Purdy? I want to ask you that specifically than anybody else.
No, you can easily tell he's missing his guy Deebo Samuel. He's missing him badly in these games. The thing that they need to work on immediately, the offense, to make sure they protect Purdy, because he's being rushed more than ever in these last 2 games that resulted in losses when it comes to his throwing accuracy. I don't think that Niners fans should panic yet, but definitely some changes need to come. That offense has to step up for sure when it comes to protecting Purdy, so he can make those passes in the pocket. And that's literally the issues I see. And that my list is literally the same. It mirrors what you had, Jeff. I had Chiefs, Eagles, Niners, Dolphins, and I had Ravens just barely knocking out the Lions out of the top 5, just because, I need to see the Lions get it together. And I know they will, and I agree with you 100%, Ben. They're going to put that foot on that gas and hopefully not let go, because all of them are pissed right now in the embarrassment that they did not show up in that game. So definitely they're going to make it up on Monday night.
And Gary, will toss it to you, but one team I have in the top 30, Denver Broncos at 28. 2-5, baby. 2-5.
He said the
2-5.
top.
We number
He
28.
said the top 30.
Because I know that we're almost done at time, and I'm jumping in here late because I was on another show. But can we just flex a muscle including your Broncos? The 1-5 teams played like they didn't give an F. Shout out to the Bears, the Giants, the Bears, the Patriots, the Broncos. We just gonna go in here and just, I don't care how ugly the win is. It's a win is a win, and now they graduate from 1 win to 2 wins. I wanted you to flex your muscle. Yes. I wanted you to flex your muscles, gentlemen, that had previously 1-5 teams. You're now 2-5. So, flex your muscles.
Jeff can put on his Broncos hat. For me, I'm not celebrating 14-7. I'm just saying that's a win that that's a win that happened. Mm-hmm. And that's it. I'm not celebrating 14-7. It's our first, like I said on Sunday, our first half touchdown, our first home touchdown of the season, all this other stuff. I'm like, these aren't things to be proud of. So no, I'm not going to celebrate anything. It's just, it is what it is. Good for them. And hopefully, I've heard just going on a sidetrack. I've heard all this stuff from the radio about, if the Giants can beat the Jets and the Ravens, the Raiders, now we're 4-5. And now the conversation looks different. I'm like, if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk.
Period.
So please miss me with that. Yeah. Like, it'll be nice, but
it's all good.
We had other plans for this season other than this. Going into the power rankings. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Gary.
No, power rankings are simple. I'll go 5-1. I think San Francisco is number 5. I think they have a lot. Obviously, they missed Deebo Samuel. I think the luster is a little bit off of Brock Purdy, but I still don't think that he is. By no means is he a scrub. I think now the league's starting to catch up to him. For Miami, I think they are the best that they can be. I think as far as what they have, what they've been able to produce, I don't see them taking it to another level. I mean, you can't really exceed 70 points. So I think, we got what we got out of them, and however this turns out for them will be great. I got Detroit 3. I think that they still there's still a little bit of that. As I said, I know you missed it at the beginning of the show, Marissa. I look at that team and I'm like, okay, they're kind of like the Giants last season, whatever. Like, they're there and they're gonna have a good run. Philly's number 2. I still look at them as the most complete team in the NFL, top to bottom on both sides of the ball. And then Kansas City's number 1 because prove me otherwise. Like, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Taylor Swift are making a hell of a team there. And, it'll be delightful.
Bracelets and touchdowns galore. Let's go.
Okay. Hey, I'm with it.
He's playing at an elite level, and then once they inevitably lose, then the breakup song will come out and she'll start winning Grammys again.
Okay. All right. Love it. And Mr. Holloway, to wrap it up, what are yours?
So I'll go 5-1. I got Dolphins 5, Ravens 4, 49ers 3, Eagles 2, Chiefs 1.
Okay. Hey, I like it. Tiggy, as we were saying, I don't think there's any great teams. I think that I was saying, do not be surprised if a team that's like 9 or 10 wins makes a run and goes to the Super Bowl.
Marisa, let me ask you a question.
Hey, listen.
So your Lions,
Mm-hmm.
if you had to come up with a trade for anybody,
Mm-hmm.
who would it be? Any position, any player, who would who do you think that they could get or want them to get?
Listen, I like that you posed the question earlier when you had sent what we were going to discuss about Danielle Hunter from the Vikings. I would love to have him on there as a compliment edge rusher to an edge to Aiden Hutchinson. Somehow, for some reason, the Lions in Minnesota is just got this like trading partnership with one another for the past couple of seasons. I mean, obviously with Hawkinson going to Minnesota. But the thing that I look at is, yeah, I would love to add him to our team. I mean, it's been going around for the past several days in the media, where he would fit if we, before the trade deadline, if he does, move. But because of the performance that they saw out of him against the 49ers, he might move or he might not move. Minnesota is looking at the productivity level as far as that. If we do get him, my concern is a couple of things. The tail end of his contract. I think he was got $72 million. He's at the tail end of his contract. This is the last year, I believe it is for him. So
most likely a 1-year rental.
Yeah, 1 year. Yeah, that's well said.
But for whatever team that gets him, if they win a Super Bowl, who gives a crap?
Right. I would say a couple, that, and then, giving up some, possibly second or third round picks to get him on there. But what is it going to take to, compliment Hutchinson on that line and to, make the Lions a little bit better on that defensive front? So if it is where he ends up on the move and it ends up where he lands directly into the Lions, I'm just curious on a business standpoint what the Lions are wheeling and dealing to them. Because like I said, for some reason, the pieces that they sent over and then we obtained and everything else, I mean, the record speaks for itself right now, sitting at 5-2 and it's starting to work, but it needs to accelerate better for us on our squad.
One quick follow-up.
Defensively.
Not specific player, but would you rather get a corner or an edge rusher?
Edge rusher.
Okay.
Hey, listen, all I'm gonna say, Tiffany, is that you guys started at 1-6 last year. And
exactly.
Now you guys are 5-2. So I mean, hey, take what you can. But before we conclude, my gripe is very simple. Michigan State, you need to get your act together. It is 2023, and why in the world is Hitler being shown on your screen? And especially with what's going on.
Good trivia.
Like what's going on in the world? Like, I mean, my thing is, why would you do it in general? But what's going on in the world in Israel? We're not going to get too political on that part.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to talk about insensitive? Michigan State really needs to get their crap together. When you have the NASA situation with the gymnasts, you have, the shooting that just happened there last year, where a couple students died. You have the Mel Tucker situation. Now you have this. There's a couple other things brewing. Then there was the football situation with the players fighting Michigan last year. There was a fight with that.
The tunnel.
Then even during the game, right? And then even during the game, there was a rough in the penalty from a Michigan State player on a down.
Was that Dr.
Don't even say his name.
Yeah. So, like, what I'm saying is that the athletic director needs to get fired. The senior leadership needs to get fired. I think there needs to be new leadership at the top. I would not want my kid to go to Michigan State.
And these are interims. These are interims.
Right.
That's the problem. These are interims right now.
Right. So for me, like, it's getting a little bit ridiculous. And like at this point, that the fact that you let Hitler out of all, I just don't understand it. The level of idiocracy is just absolutely mind blowing. And there needs to be a serious inquiry in the practices of Michigan State.
The problem, the sadness of that is that they didn't even check with the third party that they said is a third party trivia person. And I'm thinking, if you are that person, if you're a large university and you have the spotlight on you every single Saturday, sometimes Friday, depending on whatever, and if you make postseason, which you won't this season, you would think you would do a better job with follow-up and follow-through before you put anything like that on there, because there was, and I have a couple of friends that are out there, there was a large a group of friends that went out there from the club that is a Jewish community. club there that's on campus and they see that on the screen. You know what I'm saying? And then you didn't do any follow up and see what was going to be portrayed or what was going to be on there. I mean, you got to do better when it comes to anything like that and the insensitivity of it. Yes, you suspended the person and the people responsible of putting the trivia on there and all that sort of stuff, but you have to do better. You got to do, I mean, like you said, Jeff, it's 2023. It has to be, you have to do things better, and you have to realize, I mean, literally read the room and be better about what you're portraying on your screens. Because yes, all of that stuff, and the sad thing about it is I'm linked to that school because I worked on campus for many years and went to school there. So to see again another missed opportunity of idiocy and ridiculousness, as far as that is concerned, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, and then don't forget Dearborn, Michigan, which has the highest concentration of Middle East descent. Dearborn, Michigan. Like I don't know. Like there's a very big Middle Eastern population. I don't know. They're just not reading the room. But Marissa, Tiffany, I know that there's some projects that you're working on. Why don't you tell them about it, and then we'll conclude, because I know there's some exciting things that you're working on.
Say that one more time. You faded out. I apologize.
There's a project that you're working on. You're doing play-by-play for something. Give that a
yes,
shout
thank
out,
you very much. I appreciate that. So I am a correspondent along with an incredible person that has done media and broadcast announcing, Monty Moss out of New Jersey. We are part of the Kenny Burns Show, and we do a play-by-play sports segment 2 times a week. And we talk about the hottest things that are going on in sports and the headliners that are going on in sports. And we just give, an overview of what's being discussed and being talked about. And we do that twice a week. And, then the things that we talk about here, I like that we discuss it in broader length of this. And I'm so glad that you brought up this, because we didn't have the time to talk about the gripe there of what Michigan State did and everything. So if you're not following the Kenny Burns Show, we are on there on Instagram. Please give us a follow. I am also on there. Monty Moss is on there. That's his name, Monty Moss 3. I go under Marisa _Tigney_ podcast, and then TKBS, the Kenny Burns Show. Kenny Burns, give you a backstory. He has been literally in the music industry for over 25 years, has a background in music and has worked with numerous amount of artists, and just literally is an incredible person, a mentor to those that are on the come up when it comes to doing their own shows, and so much he is involved with the community and such. So it's an honor to be part of that, as well. It's an honor to be with you gentlemen every single week on Tuesday. So I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, awesome. But hey, Marissa, Tigney, glad to have you back on. That is all for tonight, folks. Make sure to check out Tigney, what she's got going on. Ben is gone. It's been real. Until next time, peace and love, y'all. Hail Von Miller.